Good morning. It's March 3rd, Tuesday of 2026. I was running a little behind. That's why I had to turn on all the lights. So if you're joining for the first time, what we do on this channel, we start things off with a market update. It's a wellness check. We start with crypto, branch out to silver, gold, especially looking at oil lately, US stocks, and the Japanese bond market. From there, we'll branch out to any specific news stories going on within the week. Now, this is probably going to be a silver, gold, and oil focused episode, as that does seem to be where things are not going well. So I'm going to say good morning to everyone, and then we're going to kind of dive straight in. Good morning, Gangsta. Good morning, Steph. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Mill. Good morning, Scorpio. Good morning, Echo. So I got a burp here coming, and then I'm going to share my screen. All right, I defeated it. You know, once you announce something, it tends to go away. Isn't that kind of interesting how that works? So are continuing to develop kind of in the direction that we thought that they would. Markets are basically down everywhere. By the way, I'm going to just adjust my camera a little bit here. There we go. Markets are down, crypto's down, stocks are down. The only thing that's not down is oil. That's actually up. And it's up quite a lot. Now we're gonna jump straight into that. Sorry, I do have the burps here. Maybe protein shakes shortly before streaming. Not the best idea. So Bitcoin, let's just start out here. We'll go through the crypto stuff. Bitcoin is, well, actually kind of weirdly enough, in the past 20 minutes, it was rising. But when I woke up this morning, had a pretty decent slide coming down from, yesterday we were at around 70,000. It kind of slid all the way down to 66, which is a pretty major slide. That's a multiple percents. It does seem like in the past half hour, it's jumped back up. So very, very volatile right now. Silver and gold, even more volatile. Now, of course, we all know that our favorite coins like XRP, hbar, Flare, Quant, going to be having similar chart patterns. Looking at this, you can see that, this time yesterday, XRP was at $1.41, slid all the way through the day, kind of reaching a bottom very early in the morning at around 134. It does seem in real time to be moving up. Interesting things going on. I want to continue looking into the Jane Street situation because, as we know, we've got some market manipulation going on. It sounds like every day at 10 in the morning there's a trading algorithm. So very interesting to see. Right exactly at 10 a.m. is when this thing started to run off. So not happy about the market manipulation going on with these trading algos. It seems like almost any market you look at right now, we're dealing with fraud and manipulation. We're looking at fraud in the Bitcoin space. We're looking at fraud in the silver and gold space. Oil, maybe a little bit of a unique situation since the oil... I want to say pipeline, but they're not necessarily pipes. They're on ships. But the shipping lanes for oil in the Middle East is basically halted for now, and I think that's probably going to be the trend for the foreseeable future. Now, I don't think this is something that's just going to go away overnight, and I do anticipate situations over there in the Middle East escalating until we get into a situation where there's no turning back. But that's just the pessimist in me. We'll have to just take things one day at a time. Hey, good morning, Pat, and good morning, Son. So, as it is right now, it's just kind of business as usual. If for all of us out there that dollar cost average into things, you guys already know the score. Anything in the crypto market right now is very much on sale. So whatever your buying strategy is, if you're dollar cost averaging weekly, maybe you're dollar cost averaging daily, I wouldn't adjust anything for now. In fact, maybe this is the time to accelerate, put your foot on the gas a little bit if you are able to. That said, there is a point to consider here that prices here in America might actually also shoot up with the rest of the world. If oil starts to get too expensive, expect to see, obviously gasoline at the pump will go up, but also expect to see your groceries increase. So maybe not the worst idea in the world to have a little bit of capital on hand to actually cover your daily needs. Um, Everyone's going to have different situations. Just look at your situation and ask yourself, do I have the cash flow to weather potentially a couple months of economic downturn? The last thing that you want is to find yourself in a situation where you have to start clawing back some of your investments in order to pay bills. So, this is going to be, this will be a case by case situation, but if you've got the free cash flow, $1.37 XRP is pretty wild. You guys know me. I love my Flare. Flare is back to 9/10 of a penny. A little close enough anyways. We're sitting there at 0.0092. In the morning, it really was at 9/10. I think it may have even cracked into the 8s very slightly, but maybe it did not. I don't know that I can tighten up this chart any tighter than 24 hours. So usually these things are moving averages. So, if it spent like 5 minutes in the 0.8s, might not show up on the 24-hour chart. So things are actively moving in the upward motion, at least right now as we're streaming. But the past 24 hours showed a pretty continuous trend of things sliding. So I've been thinking, if Flare gets down to 0.8 of a penny, that might be a situation where, I free up some capital and really buy a crazy amount. And by crazy, I guess everyone's terms of that will be different. I probably just throw a couple $1,000s in. So, in the terms of getting 1 million Flare, if this goes down to 0.008, it only costs you about $8,000 to get 1 million, which, you guys know, we do all the staking. We're getting involved in DeFi. As long as the staking rewards stay somewhere between that 10 to 15% range, logic dictates to me that you could turn 1 million Flare into 2 million Flare within maybe 6 to 7 years without ever actually having to buy another token, which I think is pretty cool. So I think 1 million is a very good goal for people to have, and I don't think right now that's asking for too much. I know everyone's going to have different incomes, so it's hard to kind of paint things with a wide brush, but even right now at 0.9 of a cent, you're really looking at about $9,000 all in to get to 1 million tokens. And then, of course, your dollar cost averaging, your wrapping, your staking is going to be a force multiplier. You might only need to actually buy 800,000 Flare tokens to get to that 1 million range over maybe the next year and a half. So cool stuff. Very happy with Flare. Can't quite do that with HBAR. HBAR, it does have the staking available, but it's just not, the output on it, it just isn't as strong as what Flare has. So you might be getting 2 to 2.5% on your HBAR staking, which is, it's better than zero, but you're not getting anywhere fast with that. Like, for example, if you had 1 million HBAR tokens, which actually would be pretty substantial, you probably would, at that level, might not even care about the yield. But at 1 million HBAR tokens, it would take something like 20 or 25 years to turn that into 2 million just from the 2.5%. So, the percent's really a force multiplier. Every percent above the bottom one, so like going from like 3% over 2% or 4% over 3%, that it drastically changes the timeline. If you were to look at graphs, like prediction graphs or like mapping it out, a couple extra percent over compounding years actually substantially boosts a portfolio. So looking at Flare and having that 10 to 15% range, as long as that's sustainable, that's a force multiplier in Flare's favor that HBAR can't quite compete with, at least not yet. So, nothing really to say about the crypto market. That it's basically the same today as it was yesterday. So I wouldn't say there's too many surprises there. What I will say is that the Brent oil has hit 13K. This is an all-time high. In fact, if we pull this thing out, so let's just look at the 5-year chart. The oil has not been this high since 2024. I'd be interested to see what was going on at this time. And it didn't stay there for very long, by the way. So we're hitting, at least for the past 2 years, we're hitting all-time highs. Let's see if oil cracks the price it was back in 2022. 15,000 yen per barrel back in, I'm looking at this, May 1st of 2022. I have a feeling this could get there by the end of the week. And the situation might actually continue escalating. So for those that follow the domino theory, it is something to be considered that the higher the oil goes, the more the reverse carry trade becomes almost like inevitable, like something that would have to happen. Looking over at the Japanese government bonds, yesterday it got down to 2.05. Now it's up to 2.13. So pretty major movement in the past. Even the past 24 hours. This chart doesn't look as great on the 1-day mark, but around this time yesterday while we were streaming, it was down here around 2.05, back up to 213, and it had a daily high of 215. So if this thing keeps moving up and the price of oil keeps moving up, this is really the, if you're making like a soup, this is like adding all the spices to it. This is what's gonna make the soup pretty spicy. And so that's something to think about. Now, I'm seeing some movement in the chat. I do think, I'll tell you guys a personal story because this actually did happen, at least for me. Back in the original COVID 2021 era, I was one of the people that thought that we were going to be entering some kind of dystopian apocalypse where society was going to collapse. Some people might look at that and laugh, but you got to remember at the time, everything was closed. We were talking about this pandemic. You didn't know if it was real or not, but one thing you did know was that either this is just, hindsight's 2020, but there were really two camps. Camp A thought everyone was going to die to COVID, and Camp B thought everyone was going to die from the vaccine. So, I was in Camp B, but that's just what it is. Neither of those ended up playing out. So hindsight's 2020, but I was buying supplies as if the world was going to end. So I was buying rice by, the bag full at Costco. And I know rice is actually not good during the apocalypse because it takes a lot of water. But I was buying filtration hoses that still have them, by the way. It's like a hose that has like a packet of charcoal in it so that you could, in theory, drink from streams if you wanted to. Pretty cool technology, actually. But I was basically doomsday prepping, and that includes getting the handheld fun devices. The ones that have the things that go bam in them. I think YouTube censors that kind of language, so I had to talk like a child about it. But yeah, I have the things that make loud noises, and then everyone in Chicago seems to have one. So it's like, well, if they've got one, I want one too. Of course, I had to buy mine legally. But that's a topic for another day. So just to kind of wrap what Mill was talking about here, as much as I'm bullish on crypto, I'm thinking, well, maybe it's also a good idea to actually have some emergency supplies just in case this oil thing really does get out of control, because it could affect us here in the States. Maybe it won't. You know, we pipe our own oil. We got our own operation going on, but these things have a butterfly effect. You know, we do get a lot of supplies. We import basically everything. So if our food is being imported and our supplies are being imported, if the people that produce our food go, you know, belly up, then we're affected by that too, you guys. So nothing's happening in a bubble. So even if the price of oil doesn't hit us here in America, it might hit our suppliers. And then on top of that, if it costs our suppliers more money to ship food, we might see that hit our grocery bill regardless of our own oil price. So just kind of something to keep in mind. This all could escalate very quickly. I know that it's a divisive topic. Some people think that this war in Iran will only last a couple weeks. Some people think that it will last a couple of years. I know that this is a very polarizing discussion, and I'll try to keep the politics to a minimum, as it does usually tend to cause arguments in the chat or in other places. But needs to be said, if this does have a prolonged effect, which I think is definitely on the cards, having some home provisions, you know, maybe you stock up on peanut butter, something that's got very calorically dense, has a long shelf life, easy to store. Yes, I know peanut butter is not the most healthy. When you're trying to survive, health is not your priority. It is at that time when you say, look, the peanut butter is, you know, it's serving a purpose, and you can get back on the healthy diet once the problem goes away. And really, if there was an apocalyptic scenario, if it doesn't get resolved within 6 months, basically everybody's cooked. So really, you only need about 6 months worth of provisions, because anything beyond 6 months, it's kind of just like, well, society's coming to a permanent end. I don't even know if I would want to survive that. But I definitely, if the apocalypse is a momentary thing and you've only got 6 months to wait out, I think anyone can wait out 6 months if they're prepared. You never know. The future could be quite bright in a couple of years. And all of this could also not happen altogether. It didn't happen in 2021. Maybe it doesn't happen this time. But I think it's a good idea to, at least in the back of your mind, be like, well, maybe I should have a plan. So just something to think about. I'm still buying crypto though, you guys. I still have some of my provisions. Not all of them expire, you know. Not all of the things I bought were food. So just something to think about as we head towards this tumultuous time. I'll keep monitoring oil here. I don't know if this is a live chart like my other charts are. But this thing is moving pretty fast. I would expect, you know, right now I do believe it's nighttime in Asia, so their markets might actually be closed. Wouldn't be surprised, you know, let's check back at like 8 or 9 p.m. when their markets open. I wouldn't be surprised if it shoots up again. In fact, I do think their markets close. I think that's probably why we haven't seen it move here in a few minutes. If any of you guys know when the Asian markets close, it'd be, why don't we just check? When do markets close in Japan? So they close their regular trading session at 3:30 p.m. Japanese Standard Time. So that's UTC plus 9. And here in the United States, I'm in UTC minus 5. So, oh geez. Was it a 14-hour difference? So they're 14 hours ahead, which would make that like midnight over there or something like that. Maybe a little later. Maybe it's like 1 a.m. So we'll see what the price looks like. You know, I probably won't be live at that point, but we'll see what this looks like. Oh, it did actually just move. So maybe the Brent oil price doesn't isn't affected by market hours. You never know with some of these charts, you guys. You don't know if it's based on when the markets are open. Some charts move in like after hours. Someone was also asking me about crude oil, which is actually different than Brent oil. I don't know if I'm explaining this the best way, but the way I understand it is that Brent oil comes through the sea. Like, I think it's like actually extracted from the ground through the sea, whereas crude oil, I believe, is through like rock or through like solid ground. But I'm not an oil expert. If any of you guys know, feel free to let me know if I got that wrong, because I don't know if that's 100% accurate. But long story short, I do believe the one that we want to be tracking is Brent oil, not crude oil, because one way or another, I do believe it's the Brent oil that gets shipped by boat. And I think that crude oil gets shipped through like pipelines. So here in the United States, most of our oil is pipelined. You got the Alaskan pipeline, you got, all these different pipelines here, pipelines there. In the Middle East region, it's all by the barrel being shipped out on very large tankers. So it's just, I don't know if that makes the oil different or it's just the way they move the oil. I'll be honest, oil's not my area of expertise. We'll keep watching this because I think this will have a major effect on XRP's price. We just don't know the exact date. Silver and gold, you guys, had a pretty rough night. I woke up today, I was like, whoa, what happened? As I'm going to bed, silver was hanging out around 90 bucks. Wake up and it's all the way down. When I woke up, it was just above 79, somewhere in this little range right here, 79 to 81. Now it is moving up in real time, but the first thing I look at the charts. Yeah, here it is right here at around 10 a.m. Silver's sitting at 79 bucks. So I'm like, wow, what just went wrong here? I've been actually expecting silver to go up, so this actually surprises me because the COMEX does not have the amount of silver required to fulfill the orders going out from all the long contracts. I've explained it a few times on the stream, but just to kind of give a very brief overview, when you have a long contract, at the end of the contract date is when fulfillment is agreed upon. So you can end a contract early and they're not going to fulfill that order. You just basically trade paper and you move along your way. If you let the contract expire, you do actually buy the asset, the physical silver asset. So as these longs expire, the COMEX is going to be, on the hook to fulfill these orders. Now, I forget exactly where I saw the data, but the COMEX, I believe, only has 90 million ounces of silver. Let's just do a quick check. How much silver in ounce does COMEX have? I think it's 90 million, somewhere in that range. Let's just see what this headline says. As of late February 2026, the COMEX silver inventories have dropped significantly to around 360 million ounces. With registered silver, here we go. Yep, okay, this is what I was referring to. So registered silver would be like the silver they've actually got. They don't actually have 360, even if they're calling it inventory. So the registered silver is 90 million ounces. So this is a big problem for them, because if they have to deliver 360 million ounces, but they've only actually got 90 million on hand, you're almost left with close to 200 million ounces of silver that it's not going to get delivered. It means it basically doesn't exist, right? So right now there are millions of ounces of silver that people own that actually does not exist. I hope people understand that, because that's the problem. If all you do is trade paper and you never actually have the real asset coming your way, you might not notice or not care. Once you start saying, okay, now I want my actual silver, maybe you find out that paper silver wasn't such a good idea. I'm going to crack the window, you guys. It gets nice and hot in here. You guys know how that is. Spring's coming here soon, so hopefully my heat stops running 24/7 here pretty soon. I know in some parts of the country it's already warm. Here in the north, we're still at sub-freezing levels, but I think by next week it should be in like the mid-50s, which means I could just turn my unit off altogether. The rest of my house gets a little bit cold because it's all wood floors, but then this room is all like very insulated with sound dampening equipment, so it just holds heat better. Long story short, this room is like 10 degrees hotter than every other room in my house. That's what I get for becoming a YouTuber. So, questions in the stream. Kiwi asks, opinion on Flare's recent announcement of getting yield from XRP. Well, I think it's great. I mean, we already kind of knew all this, but is there a specific announcement that has been made? If there is, I'll go ahead and take a look at it. I'm not really that impressed so far by the FXRP yields, if I'm being honest with you guys. And that's just my honest input. I'm going to real quickly catch up. I think I've missed a few questions. I think someone actually asked me about Mystics. So let me just scroll through the chat real quick and see if anyone did actually ask about that. Just gonna blast through here. Okay, Chris says, do you think Mystic will be able to offer a better APY moving forward, or is it just going to keep decreasing with increases in volume? Well, I hope that it goes up. It's currently sitting at 1.24%, which I don't think that's high enough for me to really feel like this is getting my values worth here. We'll keep watching it. You know, that's what these are. They're experiments. I'm experimenting with these things. But I want to avoid, you know, as a content creator, there's sometimes like this appeal or desire to like cheerlead for things because it's good for engagement, and it gets you on the good side of the developers that are making these things. So I get why people do it. But I don't really want to come on here and say that I'm thrilled about a 1.24% yield when I'm actually not. I don't fully understand why this has dropped so dramatically. It started out at like 5 or 6% or so. I'd have to go check my original videos. You know, this might be fun. Let's just do it. Let's go see what it looked like when I made my announcement video. That announcement video would have been, let's see here, Morpho. Here we go. This will be fun.
So join me as
I'm just going to mute it. We don't need to listen to the video. But I want to see, what was it at? Yeah, hold on. Like, look at this, you guys. When Morpho launched, like 3 weeks ago, this would have been on February 4th, so really about a month, actually. You can see the screen's frozen right here. Core FXRP was at 14%. So at the time, that was like blowing your socks off. That's good. Like, that's clearly what we wanted. Maybe you could even argue that it's too high. And you might be thinking like, well, how could anything ever be too high? Usually if something's above 14% APY, it means that there's a reason. There's something that doesn't add up, that the incentives are almost too good. So you don't really want above 14%. Still though, 14% on the core FXRP down to 1.24%. I'm just like, whoa. I mean, in just a span of almost 4 weeks here, This thing went from incredible, like that's incredible, down to like, I don't really care anymore. And that's sad to see. I don't want to, I want to see this thing go back up. Now, of course, we're going to be experimenting with this through August, so I'm just going to record the data, and we're just going to say, this is what we got. I'm not here to say it's good or say it's bad, but obviously I want it to do well. You know, since I'm here, I may as well log my numbers. For having 1,700 XRP, mind you, not Flare, but XRP. For having 1,700 XRP in here, getting less than 9 Flare from yesterday. I don't know if that's doing it for me, you guys, but I will keep tracking it, and if things change, I'll be the first one to tell you. Since I have these tabs open, may as well log my other data points here. No new FXRP minted. That's pretty abnormal. Normally I get at least 1/100th of an XRP per day. Did not get that yesterday. Could just be that it didn't register yet, or it could be that just didn't happen. Let's see what my collateral pool looks like. So we got 243. So this one is still doing pretty good. Now I'm not expecting to get any stake. I'll just pop in here and look. I don't expect that we got any stake or any delegation rewards. So there's nothing to claim here. Yep, so nothing to claim on either of those. That checks out. That's kind of what I was expecting. So no new wrapped flare today, although the flare did go up a little bit, not by a whole lot, but it went up because of the collateral pool, not because of the mystic reward. Let's just see how these things play out. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. The Morpho going down to 1.24, and then Firelight not, we still don't know what our points mean. We still don't know what the yield is going to be on that. I wish there was a little bit more communication on this stuff, you guys. I really want this thing to work out. But I don't want to just be cheerleading something. Like, you see some of the people on Twitter or other YouTube channels where it's almost like they're just blowing smoke up the developers behind, and I don't want to be one of those people. I do want to see this succeed, but I have to be able to say when I'm not impressed with some of the data. Now, I'm impressed with my staking and my delegation. So the Flare token itself, I'm happy. I'm happy with my Flare tokens. I'm happy with my delegation reward. I'm happy with my staked reward. I thought the collateral reward could be maybe a little bit better, but you know what? As long as I have two good options in wrapping and staking, I'm good. It's the FXRP that I'm not entirely sold on yet. We'll keep tracking the data, but I don't necessarily want to be singing its praises until these APYs get better. And as much as I want to see more FXRP being minted, I've already got 2,000 FXRP minted. I don't know that I want to go much higher than that until I can see that I'm going to be getting something out of this, right? Because there's something that we all have to kind of consider is that when we do mint FXRP, you know, we're saying, here's our FXRP, you can use this. So they're doing something with our tokens. I'm sure they're getting rewards on their end. I'm sitting here scratching my head like, why am I not getting more rewards on my end? So let's just keep watching how this plays out. But as it currently stands, 1.24% on the Mystic has kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. So let's just catch up on the chat. I haven't looked at the chat in a little bit here. Mill Power says, the biggest lie about oil It's a fossil fuel. No, it's not. The planet makes the oil. It's a good point. So I'll give you guys some science on this. Compressurized rock actually becomes oil. So if you think about it, oil is a renewable resource because the top layer of the rock, as it becomes oil, the pressurized, let me back this up. Let me just start over. So you have, in some cases, miles deep amounts of rock basically pressing into itself, and the heavier the rock gets at the bottom, the more it gets squeezed into oil. And you can use pressurized valve, or like drill in, and the oil shoots up. I mean, it shoots out of the ground for a reason because it's so pressurized. So you pipe the oil, you collect it, and people are like, oh, well, eventually the oil reserves will dry up. They're not going to dry up because the next layer of sheetrock is getting compressed into oil. And then there's going to be new stuff being added to the top layer. I mean, the Earth is very good at renewing itself. It's ignorant to think that we could ever use up the world's supply of oil because the Earth is making oil faster than we can actually consume it, which I think is very, very interesting. But that's how oil works. It's just very, very, very pressurized rock that gets turned into a goo, and then that goo gets turned into gasoline. Very layman's terms of putting it. The only way we could possibly use up all of the world's oil is if we somehow used up all of the world's mountains. Try to really wrap your head around that, and you'll start to be like, oh yeah, we'll never use up all the world's oil. It doesn't make sense. All right, moving on to the next comment. Rated Russian says, hope stream's going good, man. Sorry I've been busy, haven't had time to tune in. Hey man, no problem. Life gets busy. It's two ways. Sometimes you guys send me text messages, so I get how it is. If I don't reply to your texts, it doesn't mean that, you know, I'm ignoring you. It just means, you know, I get it. We get busy, and there's sometimes things pulling us in different directions. So happy to see you back in here. Glad that you're still, you know, enjoying the stream. Sunset Beach says USD to yen is 1 to 157, or yeah, 1 to 157.81. Pretty interesting. I've noticed that the yen to US dollar exchange rate is eerily close to the XRP to Flare exchange rate. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to calculate this out properly, but I'm going to try. So we got 1.36 for XRP. If I divide that by Flare's, I don't know if this is going to work properly. Oh no, it did work. Okay. The current exchange rate for XRP to Flare is 147. USD to yen is 1 to 157. So I think that's kind of like, I don't know if there's anything there. I just think it's interesting. It seems like it rhymes. If you know how this thing is playing out, Japan really seems to want to convert its currency to XRP. It's like, well, here's this Flare token. I don't know. Maybe I'm drawing parallels that aren't there, but I do think that it's interesting. And then Kiwi says, I see you can do it through the Zaman wallet. So I don't have the Zaman wallet, but I'm hearing good things about it. So maybe I should look into it. And I guess you might be able to get some yield on the Zaman wallet that we're not getting here on Morpho. I don't know if that's true or not. I'll have to look more into it. But if there is another option out there for FXRP, I'm happy to take a look at it and maybe kind of pull some out of Morpho. Because right now, if I'm not getting 1.24 is not going to cut it for me. Mr. Good says the wrapped Flare Mystic Vault is great. These vaults just flux with volume. It's all in the RFLR incentive. It's like ad dollars for marketing. Well, now here's the interesting thing. If we look at this, it's right there on the screen. FXRP doesn't have any native APY on Mystic. So right is the only thing you're getting is the RFLR rewards. Iman on this channel and myself, we spent like an hour going through this, trying to find some way to put your FXRP to work more than just having it sit in these pools, and we could not find anything. It does not seem like, at least as of right now, there's any way to get APY on the FXRP itself. Right now, you're only getting the RFLR rewards. So we're just gonna have to keep looking at that, but I did think that I guess I wish there was more information. You know, I'm on the dashboard. The dashboard doesn't tell me much. Maybe it's just not ready. Maybe that part of it has not gone live, but I don't know. I guess I would like to have more information on this, but as of right now, it can be pretty difficult to get that. So we'll have to keep taking a look at it. That's the best we can do for now. I'm gonna look at Hashpack next. Hashpack, I've been in this for about a week. You can get Hashpack as an extension on Chrome. Very easy. Once you have it set up, very, very easy to manage. Now, Hashpack might have opportunities down the line beyond just staking that could be pretty lucrative. So, looking at the Hashpack wallet, right now, all I'm doing, I'm staking my hbar. You know, getting... by the way, there's only 5 hbar on this wallet, so don't expect anything too crazy here. But, you know, you're getting almost, I think it's daily rewards. So I think you can claim once a day if you want to. It's not going to be anything crazy. But we do have an app here for dApps. So I would imagine there's probably more that I could be doing that I just have not looked into yet. But there's all these different dApps out there. I think we could probably find some ways to get some more yield out of our assets as time goes on. I'll have to keep looking through these. Maybe there's better opportunities on the dApps than there are with staking. And then, of course, they got the NFTs market. I don't have any NFTs yet. I don't know that I really believe in them, but I do think that I think there will be a case for NFTs, just not this kind of stuff. I don't know that these cartoon drawings are going to be worth anything to me. What I will say is that what if someday down the line somebody makes an NFT for like a Grand Theft Auto 6 skin? That's where I think this thing could start taking form. I would see. Now, I'm not going to say I'm the kind of guy who cares about that stuff, but I could see somebody selling a skin for a video game for an NFT, having that much more likely than someone just buying cartoon animals on an NFT market. So I think that like, what is it? Someone's making eggs that you can buy for 1 hbar. Personally, on this specific stuff, I don't know if I'm buying it, but I could see the NFT market being very good for video games. Let's see if it works into that direction. I think that it will. Grand Theft Auto 6 could be the game that really kind of takes all of that live. So I'm seeing a lot of buzz about that game. It's just something that I'm thinking about. Let's see here. So Jeff says, seems too good to be true. It scared me that it's a custodial site. If you had quite a few XRP there, it seems you could get real rewards every day. I was afraid to take the risk. Which site is the custodial site? Are you talking about the Morpho, or are you talking about Hashpack at this point? Because with Hashpack actually is custodial. You do have to create a Hashpack wallet for this. So that statement would definitely be true here. As far as Morpho goes, I don't think that's custodial because you don't have to have a specific wallet with them. But I guess you could say that as long as you're synced up with your wallet there, then they do technically have custody of your assets. So I guess it would depend on what your definition of custodial is. So this is what we got going on today with our DeFi and with our crypto market. We'll keep looking at silver, gold, stock market's taking its own beating. Let's see, what else do we got? I'll probably jump to Twitter here. I think I'll probably cut things around noon today, so I'll probably only stream for another 10 minutes or so. Feel free to drop any questions that you guys got. In the meantime, I'll head over to Twitter and just see what news is on the horizon. I'll try to avoid all the missile videos. You almost can't avoid them. So, oh, you know what? Actually, I do remember I saved a video last night. It was from, we'll watch this. This was pretty good. This was from Hugo Fillion. I think you guys will like this
Let
one.
me try and give you a bit of an overview of Flare. So Flare's a standalone layer 1 EVM. We specialize in data. So we're effectively the only major layer 1 with fully enshrined data protocols, both for price oracles and for Web 2 and Web 3 data. So all of that's handled by the validators. All of that's secured by stake. We've been very aligned with XRP from the beginning, mostly because we think that there is a sensible strategy to bring assets like XRP that don't have smart contracts onto a chain. We wanted that chain to have its own data protocols because otherwise, why not just use a wrapped version through a custodian? And so we built bridges based on those data protocols to Flare. So that's kind of long and short of why Flare exists. We've been very focused on XRP because Bitcoin has, already wrapped Bitcoin. It's quite large. There's hundreds of Bitcoin L2s, most of which won't survive. We thought that the XRP market was a particularly good market, ready for DeFi. And no one else thought that at the time when we were raising, not a single person. Almost every VC said to me, the XRP army will never use DeFi. What we've seen is that more than 70% of the XRP that has come to our chain since we launched the bridge 5 or 6 weeks ago is in DeFi. So we can dig into that in a sec. But it's quite refreshing to see those people who everyone said they'll never touch DeFi actually really get stuck in. So, in terms of building in the Ripple ecosystem or the XRP ecosystem, it's hard. There's nothing you can do with the other chain, or very little in terms of like being able to get programmability from it. But that's why we exist. But that means that building a bridge is quite difficult. It's the same with building, a really robust Bitcoin bridge, a non-custodial bridge. We've worked with the Ripple team. We've worked with the developers, non-Ripple developers around the XRP ledger. And in fact, we'll be talking about smart accounts in a minute, which is a product we're working on with a wallet called Zaman, which is pretty much the largest XRP wallet. That's not a Ripple team wallet. That is a group of independent engineers. And we are working with them to make the onboarding experience into DeFi on Flare very, very much easier. So hopefully that's a short.
Sorry if that was a little quiet on your end. It was a lot louder when I watched it on my phone. So, I mean, it's right there. A lot of people are working with Bitcoin. Flare decided to do something different and work with XRP. And now, a couple years later, really, Flare's the only layer 1 chain that's actually in direct partnership with Ripple. To me, the writing's on the wall. This is the ultimate companion partnership. So I think that Flare has positioned themselves to supplant the remainder of the market once we see XRP start to really get adopted mainstream. And this is just kind of more reaffirmation that we're on the right track. Millpower's got an interesting comment here. NFTs seem like trading cards. I agree. You know, you open up a pack, most of them are trash, and then every once in a while you get something good. I think that's how it's going to play out as far as things like gaming goes. So, legendary skins. I don't know if some of you guys are gamers. You maybe don't know the terminology, but rarity is usually divided between like common, rare, epic, and then legendary. So, it originally stems from how World of Warcraft did their itemization, but it's been adopted mainstream by the rest of the games. Every game does it now. Your orange font skins are legendary. Those are usually very difficult to achieve through normal means of like playing the game, but of course you can open up your wallet and sure enough buy whatever legendary skin you want. That's how video games have been for about the past 15 years now. So with NFTs, if you have a skin that is a legendary skin, someone who doesn't even play the game might be able to buy that skin and then flip it on the market. Now, this would all be money that settles on these ledgers. So like Hashpack, for example, you know, all these NFTs are settling through hbar. So it's just, even if you think that NFTs are dumb, which I kind of do, there's going to be people out there that still want this stuff. And so if it's settling on the the Hedera ledger or the XRPL, it just is going to be more money flowing in and out of our favorite tokens. So even if you think it's dumb, which I kind of do, still something to be excited about, just because it's going to make the prices go up. So that's kind of the interest I have there in that. Aside from that, I don't have too much more news for you guys today. I've been spending a lot of time trying to peel the news apart. A lot of this stuff looks like AI slop. I don't even know if half the stuff I'm seeing is even real. So it's very frustrating. It's like I'm out here trying to do research for the show, and half the things I see on here is AI slop garbage. Here, we can give this one a listen, because I tend to like listening to Charles. It's nice to get a different perspective from someone who doesn't seem to be on the bad side of crypto politics.
Security by default. And because it looks like XRP might get a pass and be one of the grandfathered in, including Cardano, in this whole process, I guess we just have to pass a horrific trash bill that makes everything a security by default, and it creates attack vectors through bureaucratic nonsense for the SEC to destroy all future American cryptocurrency projects. And also, there's nothing in this for DeFi. Nothing. Uniswap doesn't get anything. Prediction markets don't get anything. Armstrong can't even get his yield-bearing stablecoins. This is not a good bill. Security by default. And
so Charles up in arms. I know some people don't like him, but I actually do like him. I like that he's not afraid to say what he thinks. Steph asks, if NFTs are more for trading items in a game, then by default the gaming coins should do well. I would agree. I think a lot of these gaming companies are going to end up with their own coin. So there's probably going to be a Grand Theft Auto coin. I have to imagine Blizzard. You guys might know Blizzard. They make the Warcraft games. They got StarCraft. They got World of Warcraft is probably their most popular game. They also have Diablo. I wouldn't be surprised if sometime... Ooh, I may as well update my app while I'm there. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the next year or two, Blizzard announces that they've got their own cryptocurrency. I mean, maybe they call it BlizzCoin, you know? That's something that I... Don't be surprised if you see this happen. And then I'm just thinking very forward thinking here, but if you have BlizzCoin, let's say you're playing a game like Diablo 4, you're playing Diablo 4, you're kind of done playing it, but you got these BlizzCoins that you were buying skins with. Let's say that you were like, okay, I want to try out the new World of Warcraft stuff. You hop over to World of Warcraft, and you'll be able to take your BlizzCoins with you. By the way, I'm not saying any of this is real. This is me. This is my predictions. I'm predicting these things. You quit one game, you go to another game, your BlizzCoins work on the other game because it's all one crypto. And I'll play some Hearthstone from time to time. Hearthstone has not just one, but two, but like 4 or 5 different in-game currencies now. It's actually pretty sad, if I'm being honest. But I just see this going in that direction, that new video games coming out before you know it are going to be all in on the NFTs and the whole crypto stuff. And so, let's just say, for example, maybe Blizzard doesn't make their own crypto. Maybe Blizzard has an announcement and says, hey, we're partnering up with Hedera. And now you'll be able to use your hbar tokens in game. Imagine what that would do for hbar if Blizzard was saying that you could buy Warcraft gold or buy Diablo gold or buy gems in their mobile games or whatever. Imagine if you could buy that with hbar and it's settling on the hbar ledger. This is kind of where my mind goes when it comes to gaming. So maybe Blizzard makes their own crypto. Maybe Blizzard just says, all right, we're going to use hbar or we're going to use XRPL. Maybe they use Flare. That's the thing we got to look for, is which tokens or which coins on all of this list, who's the one getting adopted by the big guys? That's going to be the name of the game that we want to watch out for in 2026, 2027 onward. Now, of course, XRP is going to be replacing Nostro Vostro, so that's still going to be the lion's share of the crypto adoption. But the world's going to move on chain. It's just a matter of when. And so, super excited. I'm not worried one bit. I'm looking at oil again. It just dropped under 13,000, so that's interesting. I'll keep monitoring this throughout the day, but I've gotten through a majority of my topics for the day, so I do think I'm going to end things a little bit early here. Like I said, I'll keep checking the news, and hopefully we'll have more updates for you guys tomorrow. I'll try to see if there's news going on with the Clarity Act. I do at least see on Polymarket. It's up to 75% chance, so it's hard to say why. I don't... Wait, hold on. Oh, sorry, I was mousing over the graph. Hard to say why exactly Polymarket thinks that the Clarity Act's going to get passed. I'd have to imagine there's probably some sort of insider trading going on with some of those people at Capitol Hill. We'll just have to see. In the meantime, I'm going to be peeling the internet apart, trying to get as much information as I can. So I'm going to end the stream a little bit early today. I will see you guys normal scheduled by tomorrow. And of course, we'll keep working on all of these DeFi projects. I will see you guys Wednesday. That's right. See you on the 4th. Take care.